Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Remote Control Sports. We are finally back, everyone. There's been a lot going on in everybody's lives here on the show, but we're finally back. We're finally back. On today's show, we're going to talk about the whole Bubba Wallace situation with NASCAR. Sports are back for like the eighth time. Major League Baseball is on, and we're going to talk about, will there be college football? Will there be football at all? A lot of COVID testing, a lot of COVID cases in the world of college football. On today's show, we've got Dylan Domang.
What's up?
And we've got the big germ, Jermaine Kelly.
How's it going?
All right, let's roll the intro. All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Before we get into the sports, let's talk about what's going on in our lives. Dylan has the most impressive life out of all of us. Dylan, what's going on, man? Some big news.
So different background. I got my own apartment, so I'm officially working professionally. I am a reporter slash anchor. That's the position I was hired for at KALB in Alexandria, Louisiana. So this is actually, when we're filming this, it was my third day of work. So much stuff has happened so far, but super excited about it. I'm about to be coming out with professional social media pages. So once I get that out there, everyone shoot me a follow. Please follow. Even if you don't live in the Alexandria area, it still could affect you. So please support, please watch. And yeah, that's what's going on with me. And finally got the Rui jersey, which is the most impressive part.
That's not that Trevor Ariza jersey?
It could be. It could, depending on how his career ends up here, it might turn into one. So
there you go. Jermaine, what's been going on with you, man? Anything?
I just been chilling, man. Dylan, man, I'm happy for you, dude. But yeah, I just been chilling. I've been still working at the collegiate level, if we call it that. Yeah, I just been finished writing a documentary, still getting paid some solid money for that. So just been chilling.
We don't know where Richie is. No one's talked to him in months.
He's gone.
He's gone forever. No, he's trying to finish school. And so that apparently is more important than the show. Yeah, different background for me too.
Yeah.
I live in a different place. Anyway, let's get into the show. Let's start with what's going on in NASCAR. Bubba Wallace, what a weekend for NASCAR. What a weekend for Bubba Wallace. So I think it was on Friday or Saturday, over the weekend, a noose reportedly found in Bubba Wallace's stall. The FBI does an investigation, and they find that it was used to pull the garage door down. So now you've got a whole army of people who are against Bubba Wallace. They think he planted the noose. They think it was a publicity thing. But you've also got a whole other army that stands behind him. Those in NASCAR, almost a majority or a consensus. Everyone in NASCAR is behind Bubba Wallace. You've got sides to pick on here, and it's a huge deal for NASCAR right now because there's a lot of sides to be picked. NASCAR is in a interesting place. Jermaine, I want to start with you as an African American. How does this, what are your thoughts on this? Because now the FBI says, no, it was not a noose, but they keep saying it was fashioned like a noose, which confuses me because in my eyes, it's either a noose or it's not a noose. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I think that's weird. I've never been in the Boy Scouts, but I'm pretty sure there's like a bunch of different ways to tie a rope to pull something. It's just weird, and like it's been there for that long, and I don't think it was a publicity stunt because like in the environment and everything that's going on, that would be like the worst type of publicity stunt to pull. So I think it's just bad. I don't think it's a publicity stunt.
But what are your thoughts? Because it's been there since 2019. And for whatever reason, people said, oh, thank goodness it's been there a long time. But to me, I think, well, why has it been up that long?
Yeah, like if it's been there since 2019, but why wasn't it a problem then and it is a problem now that all
exactly
it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Dylan, it was an interesting weekend for Bubba Wallace because he immediately was thrust into the spotlight with, him being on the forefront of banning the Confederate flag, which we'll talk about more of that in a second from NASCAR. But that's kind of taken a back seat now to this whole situation with him. How do you feel? Because, look, there's just there's a lot to unpack. It's a very interesting story, and you know, I really like. There's really no words for it. It's
Yeah.
tough to put into words, really.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard it, and then obviously with the news coming out of, say, it wasn't the news, it's been there since 2019. The one thing I'm appreciative for is that NASCAR immediately jumped into this with the FBI
Mhm,
and said, "All right, let's figure this out. Let's figure out what happened with it." But I'm with Jermaine too at the same time that if this happened in 2019, you're telling me NASCAR and Talladega couldn't fix that one
mhm.
garage door?
Yeah.
Like why they couldn't fix that door, why they had to keep the rope open. And same thing with the rope. I mean, there's so many ways to tie it, why it had to look like that.
Mhm,
Um, and I mean, I hate saying that I'm glad it wasn't that. I'm glad it wasn't a hate crime because I
mhm,
mean that's the worst possible thing. And I'm glad that this whole situation is not resolved. It's far from resolved, like you said, with the whole
mhm,
Confederate flag situation. There's a whole other situation NASCAR has to dive in. But I mean, Bubba Wallace posted a tweet about a couple hours ago saying that he's fortunate that this wasn't a hate crime. He's glad that the FBI came out and investigated this and found out when it was actually there.
mhm,
But like you said, there's just so much there, and there's so much to unfold. And NASCAR is really in a tough spot because it's gonna be one thing after another.
mhm. I have a few thoughts on this. My first one is you have to feel for Bubba Wallace because
Yeah.
he was not the one who reported it. He never saw it. And now you've got this army of people who, even before the FBI found that it wasn't a noose and it was not intentionally put there for Bubba Wallace, I would say you had 25% of those that follow NASCAR, follow sports, that immediately said that he had planted it.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it comes out, you now have, I say, 50% of people who are going after Bubba Wallace and saying that he planted it when it's been proven that he hasn't. And I think it speaks to just how far this country has to come from a racial standpoint. Because instead of saying, this is terrible, even before it was found that it wasn't, when there was still an investigation ongoing, you had people immediately pointing the finger at Bubba Wallace and saying, no, there's no possible way that my NASCAR would do this. That had to be planted. In Alabama, in
Yeah.
Talladega, Alabama, absolutely not. And I feel badly because there are plenty of people within NASCAR and people who support NASCAR who throughout this whole thing have been very supportive of Bubba Wallace. But there's those people, just like in any other circle you look at, that have to ruin it for everyone. And so that's who I feel badly for. I feel badly for Bubba Wallace because for the rest of his career, no matter what he does, there's going to be that group of people who just refuse to be progressive at all costs, who will now forever look at him as someone who planted this. I will also say this. I need to apologize to NASCAR because you guys know that I was a very big, I was anti-NASCAR. Not that I wanted the sport to fail, but I thought, what is this for? You know, I did a whole thing on it.
The 2020 Daytona 500 was the least watched in the history of the race, dating back to when ratings began being tracked in 1979. To put that in perspective, NASCAR's Super Bowl drew a rating of 4.4, which was lower than all but 5 NFL regular season games this past year, all of which were either played in London, Thursday, or Saturday. This brings up my main question. Why are we still doing this? Who is this for?
I got big on Twitter for it, and I got a lot of hate for it. I've since started watching NASCAR. I like it. I like NASCAR. Okay? But I also owe them an apology because remember when Kyle Larson used a racial slur and I said he'd be back in the sport within a month? In that month, since that's happened, NASCAR has been probably behind the NBA the most progressive sport. And that's a brave stance for NASCAR to take. It's not like the NFL or the NBA where you've got people from all walks of life watching. I don't know the percentages, but it's definitely predominantly white that's watching NASCAR. And for NASCAR to come out and say, no, Black Lives Matter was
Yeah.
brave. And I want to go back to the Confederate flag thing for a second, because when this started, Bubba Wallace said that no one should feel uncomfortable going to a NASCAR race. And I resonated with that because I'm a big monster truck guy, a big monster truck guy. And in the early 2000s, the Confederate flag was everywhere in monster truck racing. And then over the last decade or so, they've become more mainstream and they've gotten away from all that. They've removed all any trucks that have weapons or guns. Those have been removed. There's no, there's none of that anymore. And because of that, I feel like it's grown into a sport that anyone can enjoy. Anyone can go out on the weekend and enjoy Monster Jam if it's in your hometown. And I don't think that could be said 10 or 15 years ago. And so I think NASCAR is heading in the right direction in that regard. So there's a lot of great things happening with NASCAR. It's just awful that there's some people who refuse to be a part of that change.
In the South, obviously, we see that flag here a lot. And I had friends who had that type of flag on their trucks and everything. It's just I feel like that NASCAR removed it just to make progression. And I feel like the people who went there to the tracks and flown that flag on their trucks, they're not really getting the message. They're not doing it just to spite your history or whatever you fly the flag for. They're doing it because of what it means to African American people and people of color and their past.
And I think the other thing that, because this has been a big thing, as white people who do support the movement, we will never understand what it feels like for an African American to look at that flag or, or to see a noose, especially in a place that, I don't race cars, but I feel like a garage stall is a safe place, And so for people who are not of color to come out and judge Bubba Wallace for how he has reacted to all this is, again, you'll never know how it feels, but the least you can do is be compassionate to how he feels. And I think there's been a disconnect with that as well. All right. Well, with that, we will move into sports are back. I think I've said it 12 times on the show. But team sports, it looks like, are back in America as Major League Baseball. They're playing. Don't know how it happened, but they finally got it. July 23rd or 24th. Jermaine, how's the Rangers looking? Over under on the wins, playing a 60-game schedule.
Ooh. I'm gonna just say over 30 wins. I'm a optimistic.
All right. Winning season, huh?
So 31-29.
Hopefully, dude. Hopefully have a good chance of making the playoffs. I think they're doing the new format for the playoffs for I think it's a 10 game. 10 teams.
10 games?
My bad. 10 team system. Hopefully we can sneak in there, man. There's a lot of good teams in the AL this year, so I'm happy.
Hey, I want to get this out of the way. Obviously the circumstances are crazy. This is going to be terrible.
Yes.
This is going to be the worst.
I had thought about it, and because I was so excited just to get baseball back, because everyone knows baseball is my favorite sport. It's something I enjoy. This is baseball season, so I was hoping for it. It's always something I wanted. However, if you put 60 games, if you take the first 60 games of last year, the Nationals are nowhere close to the playoffs. That team gets in. We were talking in office today about what team could even win the World Series, and this is a team that wouldn't make the playoffs if we had a full season. And we were all talking about the Reds. The Reds are a team that could just start hot, and any team could just start hot. The Mariners last year got off to this ridiculous stretch.
Mm-hmm.
You take any team like that, and a team that the Nationals struggle in the beginning but then pull it together. It's 60 games, which to a lot of people is a lot, but to baseball, it's not even close to a lot. But unless Rob Manfred did what he did and said, look, we're just going to play 60 games, the season was never going to start. They were never going to reach an agreement on anything. So I'm glad sports are back, but like John said, it's just going to be terrible.
The other thing, yes, 60 games sounds like a lot. You just alluded to it's not a lot. To give you an idea of how short 60 games are, that's the length of collegiate summer ball leagues. Kids who are still in college who go play for a summer and then are back in school in time for school to start. Yeah. That's a summer league schedule. That's how short 60 games is. It's going to go by like that. And the thing that I don't like about it is the schedule, because it's all division except the interleague.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot going on here that's awful. Why are we playing in home ballparks? No fans, don't get that, don't get anything. other than, great, we got an agreement. You're also in a 60-game schedule. How many starts you're going to get? Maybe 10 starts. You're going to get 10 starts out of your Cy Young guy. Your Cy Young guy is going to pitch 80 innings.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm the same way, and we just all alluded to it. I'm so torn because I'm so excited for it to be back. I'm so excited just to say sports are back in the sense of it, but now that we can actually look at it and analyze it, it's like, all right, well, this is just going to suck in the long run, because the same thing you said, like the players and like even with the minor league teams and everything, for major league teams, it's going to affect them because you can't evaluate a player at that time. You don't know, like they can't rise in the minor league system. They can't come into the big leagues, and I don't know how the rosters are going to be for the playoffs because at a certain point they cut down the rosters where you can't bring anybody up anymore. So you'll never get a chance to evaluate someone on a major league level, especially for this year. So it's just a whole mess, and it's going to affect the draft too. That's why the MLB draft was 5 rounds this year instead of what it normally is. So it's just going to affect so much. Even if we don't see it this year, for the next 3-4 years on the line.
Minor league baseball, I don't know how they come back.
The funding is not there.
The margins for any minor league team, whether that's a minor league baseball team, if it's a niche sport like arena football, your profit is the gate. That's it.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to break even on it. I don't know how minor league baseball is going to survive, and without minor league baseball, without a farm system, I don't know how baseball in America survives at its current state. So this is bad.
Yeah.
And you know what? With how badly baseball has screwed up this negotiation process, it's a shame because for the most part, this thing that's going to have the biggest ramifications is something that they cannot control.
Yeah.
So it's a bit unfair. All right, our final topic before we get into our final segment today. No interview. Sorry. You want to come on the show, let us know. Follow us on social media, Remote C Sports on Twitter, Remote Control Sports on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. You can listen to the show on Anchor. COVID is still here. And now that players have returned for camp in college football, a lot of them have it. So Clemson and LSU, I think, were the 2 hardest hit. But that's just what's been reported. There's got to be more. So, Dylan, I will ask you a simple yes or no question. Will we have college football? Simple.
I'm gonna know. No.
I'm gonna say I want to be optimistic. I don't know how you can. Don't know how you can.
I was listening to the governor yesterday, and he said everyone just imagined and had the assumption that the second we got into summer that COVID was going to go away because it can't stand the heat. Clearly, that hasn't been the case. In fact, we've increased here in Louisiana and so many other places. And now if we allow players back in the facility, all these players are around each other. These players have been gone for so long, so they've been in encounter with everybody else. You can check temperatures every day, but if one person catches it, it affects the whole team. If one person comes in contact with anybody, it's going to affect everybody.
These are student athletes, right? They're not just athletes. They go to class just like everyone else. All right. So you can say, just isolate the locker rooms or herd immunity in the locker rooms. Everybody gets it. We're going to be fine by September. What are you going to do when all the kids come back in the fall?
Mm-hmm.
No way. I can't think of a scenario. I just can't. Because those 30 kids that have it now, let's say you're getting 10 of them who get sick in September. What are you going to do?
Yep.
Fortunately, it has looked like those who are asymptomatic are not as, contagious as we originally thought. But even so, I mean, it's just, I don't know how you're going to get past it. Jermaine, what are your thoughts?
I'm like, I want to be optimistic, but I just don't see it happening with cases rising every single day, which sucks. But I mean, and like you said, these are student athletes who are around everybody, and like most of these guys are like 19, 20, 21 years old, and it's like they're mature, but like, you still want to joke around, and like, especially when you're like around the boys, you're gonna like get into stuff.
Yeah, when you're with the guys.
Hey, just guys being dudes, man.
Masks off.
But yeah, dude, it's just like, how guys get, like how we get, you are bound to come in contact with each other. So it's just like, I don't see it happening.
The other thing about it is the numbers were so high, and then we went into quarantine, and then, things got laxed a bit. Well, when things got laxed, no way are we going into lockdown again. I just don't believe that politicians are going to be able to convince the general public that we need to go into lockdown again. Whether it's the right thing to do or not, people are not going to go for it ever again because of what happened.
People aren't going to want to, but like, I feel like it's so needed it's just like with.
It doesn't matter if it's needed.
With record highs, it
doesn't matter if it's needed. I say it's needed. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not. They're going to stay in this kind of 50% thing forever. And look, this time, people aren't wearing masks. People aren't staying home. This thing is about to get way worse before it gets better. I hope I'm lying. I hope what I'm saying is not true. But no, this thing is about to get bad. All right. Well, yeah, you had something?
I was just gonna say, college football wouldn't even be the same, like without the atmosphere is what makes college football. It's just like it wouldn't be the same. Like you need like the celebration, the band, and everything. It wouldn't be the same anyway.
Well, I think with college athletics, just like you said, no matter if it's football, volleyball, whatever's in the fall, anything like that, even in the spring again, you can't guarantee because you can't take a locker room and say, all right, you don't come in contact with anybody. You're going to stay safe, and that's how it's going to be. You can't do that because they're student athletes. They have to go to class. They have to be in contact with somebody else. And no one knows how classes are going to be, whether they're going to be virtually again, how we ended the semester, or they're going to do 35% capacity, 50% capacity, whatever it is. Well, in major league sports, you can kind of control that, but you're taking them away from their family, which players don't want to do anyway. So that creates a whole other problem. But if we're talking about college athletics here, I mean, we're talking about football, but I don't know if any sport comes back.
That's a great point.
And that's the thing. There's no timetable. It's not like, all right, well, in September, we'll be good. We'll just give it time. That's not how this goes. We said that a couple months ago when we first started this show. Let's just see how it goes. We're here in late June, about to be July, and we're having the same conversation we had in March.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, that's a great point because everybody's talking about college football. You've got a lot of fall sports.
Yeah.
And you've got some schools that there's only a few of them, but some of them make revenue off other fall sports than football.
Mm-hmm.
You've got volleyball powerhouses, you've got soccer powerhouses, and so I mean, even those. So yeah, there's a look. In a month from now, we'll be able to have a better understanding of it, hopefully. But as of right now, too many questions. All right, so let's wrap up the show. We're gonna talk about what's pushing our buttons, what's grinding our gears, what's annoying us this week. Jermaine, you can start.
I don't really think about these. Oh, well, I know one. Just ignorance and racism, dude. Just come together and just love each other. It could take us a very far way. It's generic and stuff like that. But man, it's so true. It sucks that like you could really truly have a distaste for someone because of their skin color or like where they came from. It's sad, man, and just love everybody, man. We can all come together and just be cool,
We love you, Big Germ.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Love you. All right, Dylan.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my thing with it, everything too is, and at this point, it's what really makes me upset is, and I'll be the first to admit honestly that, when everything started, I needed to have an understanding of how people felt about this, because this is something that, again, like you said, I'm not an African American. It's not something that I grew up experiencing some of those hardships and what some of these signals and signs and meant. I didn't understand, but I was not a person to be ignorant about it and to say I'm not going to be open to that. The first thing I wanted to do was be open and understand where people are coming from. What is their side? And that's what I want to. And that's how all this can be resolved, is if you have an open mind about it. But that's the problem. There's a lot of people that really don't have that open mind, that kind of have that one single mindset about, this is what I believe in, and it doesn't matter who you are, what position you're in, or anything like that. You're not changing that belief. And there are people like that, and that's them. And that's the way they choose to live their life. But for me, I think it's best, for no matter what situation you go in, to be open-minded about whatever. And I think, again, we're in 2020. There are a lot of things changing right now with not only this community, but again, like June is Pride Month. There are still people that discriminate against that. There's still people that don't like that as well. I think it's having an open mind and being respectful. And that can go a long way. And it's something very simple, but it's a lot of things that I'm seeing in society that people do not have. And I think that's kind of just what's aggravating me.
Make sure you're following us on social media, Remote C Sports on Twitter, Remote Control Sports on Instagram, or on Facebook. You can listen to the show on Anchor. If there's something you want to have us talk about, let us know. Yes, I completely agree with both of you on that. Change is coming. Change is coming.
But hey, we're back. I think we should end the show off with some positives.
Yeah.
We have a lot of positives. The show's back.
Back.
So for me, here's how I realized, and this is, I guess, my positive, that I'm growing up. I'm liking coffee a lot more. Okay. Like, I'm not.
What kind? Like, are you actually liking coffee?
I am.
Are you liking?
No,
are
I
you
am.
liking
Like
coffee-flavored milkshakes?
No, I sense myself like being able to go to a coffee shop every single day now and getting coffee before.
It's that adult money, dude.
It's weird. It's that money. Believe me, that money goes out the door.
I've been making $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you better think that I'm. Money Manziel over here. You have no idea. I'm buying a guitar. I'm gonna learn to play guitar. Hopefully.
No.
Just because I got the money. Let it roll. Jason Aldean, Hicktown.
I'm also learning how to cook, though. I kind of have to, so I don't starve or eat fast food every single day, which is tough. That's my problem. I got a first world problem. To get to work and to get back from work, I got to pass up like Chick-fil-A, Cane's, Wendy's, and I got coupons for them. That just came. You know how hard it is to drive past them and say, you know what? No, I got food at home I can go eat. It is so difficult.
That's big of you, dude.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I don't
drive past them on my way home, and I still go out of my way to get them.
I gotta mentally think in my head, I need to fit in my dress clothes, because I can't just afford to buy a whole new outfit. So that's my motivation to keep going.
I like it, man. All right, well, we will see you guys in a few days. Thanks for your patience. I don't know how you made it. Don't know how you made it without the show, but we're back. We're doing well, and sports are back. But we will see you all again here in a few days, guys.